Once upon a time, in the village of Nkwo, there lived a widow called Ezinne. She had a daughter called Amara. Amara's father died while she was 15 years of age, and after that, her uncles threw her and her mother out of her father's compound because she didn't have a male child for her late father. Ezinne begged them not to ridicule her in such way, but her husband's brothers paid deaf ear to her plea. With tears and a broken heart, Ezinne took Amara and they went to her maternal grandparents' house. Ezinne was doing all she could to care for her daughter since her late husband's brothers had taken their home and even their farmlands. Ezinne would work for people in their farms just so she could get money to buy food for herself and her daughter. She took on multiple jobs just to earn enough for both of them. Amara would watch her mother work so hard during the day and cry at night. She would often come home tired and weak. She remembered how well her father took care of her mother, and each time she thought about it, tears of sadness fell from her eyes. She woke up one morning and told her mother that she would go to work with her to help her lessen the burden. Ezinne refused, but seeing the look of determination on the face of Amara, she agreed and they went out to work. Amara did well, to the amazement of her mother, and a strange feeling of happiness filled Ezinne as she looked at her daughter working with determination. She prayed in her heart for things to become better soon. From that day forward, Ezinne and Amara would often go to work. One morning, Amara was already preparing for work, but her mother was still not ready. She went to check on her only to find her still sleeping. She called on her multiple times, but she did not respond. Fear filled her, and she went closer to her mother. As she touched her, she felt like her hand burned from how hot her mother's body was, and she was sweating profusely. She quickly opened the windows to allow the morning air into the room. Then she rushed and got some cold water and a small piece of cloth. She soaked it in the water and used it to clean her mother's body. Ezinne was breathing hard while Amara was cleaning her body. After Amara saw her mother go back to sleep, she went to the village herbalist and he went home with her. He gave her some herbal concoction and some leaves that she would use on her mother. When she finished, she went to where she and her mother was working, only to find someone there doing their work. She went to her employer and explained what had caused her delay, but he simply said it was not his business with what happened in her family, and that if she wanted to continue working there, she had to come early the next day or he would replace her with someone else. She walked until she saw a fallen tree trunk along the road. She sat down there and cried till she felt better. Then she returned home. She took care of her mother at night and got little sleep, and then she woke up very early to prepare for work. She kept everything her mother would need and left. She felt so tired, but she still worked because her first priority was her mother. One evening, she was having dinner with her mother when Ezinne shouted.
My eyes! My eyes! What happened to my eyes?
She had been having blurry eyesight in the last few weeks, but she didn't say anything to Amara not to make her worry. Amara brought some water for her to wash her face, but nothing happened. She rushed to the village doctor who came and told her her mother had eye problems and she would lose her sight if she isn't given the proper treatment. Amara was devastated. She ran to her uncles and begged them for assistance, but none looked her way. As she was going back home, Ifaka, her uncle's wife, gave her some money and told her to manage it, that it was all she had at the moment, and she thanked her. She gave the money to the doctor, who said it wasn't enough to commence treatment on her mother. She then went again to the herbalist, who took pity on her and gave her some herbs that could help her mother. And soon enough, their money ran out, and Ogu, the herbalist, refused to give her mother treatment because they owe him so much money. Amara woke up one morning and left the house in search for a new job to add to her current one, when she saw a goat tied to a tree on the path. A sinister plan entered her mind. Should I take this goat, or should I not take this goat? She asked herself. She saw herself going towards the goat and removing it from the tree. She took it to the herbalist and gave it to him in exchange for her mother's treatment. Ogun looked at her suspiciously as to where she had gotten the goat from, but he said nothing. Amara felt so guilty and angry at herself. The guilt feeling was weighing down on her, and she didn't know how to make it stop. Her mother was receiving local treatment. That was the most important thing to her. She would deal with other things later. Ofo had told his son to bring the goat back home after grazing, but Eloka forgot to do so. Although it wasn't the first time he had done that, but this time they couldn't find the goat at the same spot. Ofo and his son walked around asking if anyone had seen their goat, and one woman said she saw the goat at Ogu's compound. Ofo got there and Ogu pointed that Amara had brought the goat in exchange for the treatment of her mother. Ofo didn't want to get in trouble, so he went straight to the king's palace and reported his findings. King Dike, the king of the Unku village, sent for Amara to be brought to him. Dike's guards went to Amara's house and took her. She had a clue as of why she was taken, and she didn't struggle. When she was brought to him, Dike was enchanted by her beauty. He stared at her, and for a minute he forgot why she was there. He called out to her and said,
Amara, I'm sure you have a clue as to why you are here. Ofo had reported his missing goat, and from the information gathered, the goat was taken by you. Am I right?
Yes, my king.
She replied. Shame filled her. She never expected to be brought to the king's palace in such a manner, and for a bad reason.
You have admitted to your crimes, and so you will be punished.
Dike didn't like the idea of punishing the young woman in front of him, but he could not show a weak spot. His people would think he was being partial. He sent for the guards to whip her 10 strokes of the cane. That was the punishment given to people who stole from others. As she was flogged, her cry echoed throughout the palace, and each time the cane came in contact with her skin, Dike wished he could take her place. After her punishment, she was told that she would work in the palace for 5 years. Amara cried.
I can't stay here. I need to go take care of my sick mother.
But that was the rule. Stealing was a big deal in the Unku village. King Dike, having pity on her, told her that she could go see her mother for a few hours daily after her daily chores. Amara thanked him for his consideration. Amara started working in the palace, and then in the evening she would go visit her mother with leftover food from the palace. Due to Ogun's medicine, Ezinne was feeling a little better, but her eyesight was still blurry. Dike would steal glances at Amara whenever he saw her. No woman had made him feel the way Amara made him feel. He felt happy whenever he saw her face, even if he had the worst day. He couldn't talk to her as he already had a woman he was set to marry in a few months, but he couldn't stop himself from admiring her from afar. He liked the way she walked, smiled, and was dedicated towards her work. He sent someone to find out information on her, and they told him everything he wanted to know. He could only imagine how a young woman like her had so much burden. He would insist for Amara to clean his room and serve his meals, and during those occasions he tried to talk to her, but each time her answer was either yes or no. He felt as though she was angry with him about the whip and her working in the palace, but unknown to him that Amara was ashamed of her action and she really didn't want anything to do with him. She found him attractive, but she didn't want to think about a man that was never going to be hers. Amara was such a free soul. She laughed and smiled with everyone. One evening, Dike saw Amara laughing with one of his men in the palace. They talked as if they had known each other for a long time, and this filled him with jealousy. He saw the man's hand stretched to hold Amara's waist, and that was where he allowed his anger to take over him.
Hey, you, go to your quarters and Amara come with me.
Amara didn't know what she had done wrong, but she followed him. And she was surprised that he was going to his room, but as it was not her first time there, she had nothing to worry about.
Amara, how much I want you to look my way. You never want to talk to me, but see how free you were with him out there. You are the first person I want to see each day and the last each night. I have fought my feelings for you, but the more I fight, the more I am consumed by your presence.
Dike said, looking straight into Amara's eyes.
Um, my king, I don't understand what's going on. You have a fiancé. How can you say such things to me? Please, let me go and focus on your relationship.
She said. Dike, seeing how she rejected him, claimed her lips in a passionate kiss, which Amara returned. Then he pulled away and said,
Amara, I know you feel something for me. Just let it grow, please. And as for my fiancé, you should not worry about it. I can take you as a second wife.
Dike said, pleading. Amara was stunned, a king begging her to love him. She must be dreaming. And above that, he kissed her. But what angered her was that he wanted her to be his second wife. She was not willing to be anyone's second wife. She struggled for him to release her, and as he did, she ran out of the room. Amara would always walk where she knew Dike would not go, and when he asked for her to do the cleaning in his room, she would always have unfinished work. When she was told to serve him food, she would put her head down and never look at him. This angered him to the extreme. Princess Nkoli, his fiancée, came to visit the palace. She was kind, but there was something off about her. She always smiled when people were looking and gloomy when she was alone. Few days after her visit, Nkoli felt sick and begged to return to her father's kingdom, but Dike refused because she could not go away while she was sick. He sent for the palace doctor who checked her and confirmed she was pregnant.
Congratulations, my king. Your wife is pregnant.
Dike was surprised. They had never been intimate, so how could she end up pregnant? He talked to Nkoli, who told him that she didn't love him and that she was forced into the marriage. That she had someone she loved, but her father had disapproved of him. She begged Dike to forgive her and that she would talk to her father about her pregnancy. Dike wasn't really happy about the turnout of events but he was sure grateful that it had turned out the way it had. Now he can fully pursue Amara, the woman after his heart. He went to Amara's mother's hut and waited for her because she usually goes there every evening. He sat in the corner as he watched her come into the compound. A rare smile lit her face as she hugged her mother. He had never seen this side of her. She felt so relaxed and in the moment. He smiled because of the wonderful sight before him. He waited until she had put her mother to sleep so that he could follow her back to the palace. On their way back, he suddenly held her on the waist as she screamed and thought it to be thieves. She turned and saw the king.
My king, what are you doing out here alone?
I'm not alone, Amara. I am with you. Why have you been avoiding me, Amara? I made my feelings known to you, but you rejected me on the spot. My ego was bruised, but here I am, following my heart.
I'm sorry, my king. I can't be your second wife. And even if I could, I am not the right one for you. There are other maidens more beautiful and talented than I am. Please go for them. And for your last question, I do find you very attractive, but you are not in my league. I am just a palace maid who is being punished for stealing to care for her sick mother. How much I regret that day. Not a day goes by that I didn't wish I didn't do something so wrong.
Everything happens for a reason, and because of this reason, I met the most beautiful, humble, and considerate woman ever. Please, Amara, don't run away from me. And I think I owe you an apology for the way you were flogged the other day. I am so sorry about that.
You don't owe me any apology, my king. I was punished for my actions, so please stop apologizing.
She hugged him, and it felt so natural. Amara promised to give him a chance. From that day, Amara and Dike would share glances, and they would smile at each other often. Some people noticed, but none dare ask any question. In their minds, if there was anything going on between Amara and Dike, it would be that Dike was just using her for his own pleasure. Dike and Amara's relationship grew so well. Amara soon finished her punishment and she returned to stay with her mother. She and Dike still saw each other on a daily basis. He begged her to bring her mother to live in the palace, but Amara refused. She wanted Dike to marry her first, but at the same time, she wanted to make sure she and Dike were doing the right thing. Dike also told her of how he paid Ogu, the herbalist, to continue giving medicines to his mother. She thanked him profusely with happiness in her heart. One evening, Amara put her mother to sleep after dinner and she retired for the night. She didn't have to work anymore because Dike was sending her money for keep up. She woke up the next morning, made breakfast, swept the compound, and went to wake her mother to have breakfast with her. But Ezinne was stiff on the bed. Amara shouted, "Mama, Mama," but there was no response. She cried and cried and cried. She was inconsolable. Before noon, news got out about the incident, and Dike came, took her, and went to the palace to stay with him. He then sent someone to take care of her mother's corpse. He hated how his beloved was sad. He immediately wished he could take her pain away, but he didn't know how. Dike sent some elders to go to Nkwo with Amara so she could discuss her mother's burial rites with her father's people. On getting there, her uncles were hostile. They even refused to listen to anything they had to say. They returned to Nkwu and Ezinne was buried in her maternal land. After the burial, Dike wanted to pay Amara's bride price, but Amara refused for her bride price to be paid to her uncles.
My love, it is tradition that your paternal people take your bride price. You don't have to be friendly with them if you don't want to. But this is what I am going to do. I hope you understand. I would not want to do something that you did not like if it wasn't necessary.
Amara agreed and Dike went and asked for the marriage list from her uncles. They were all smiles and they even asked for more things than required. But Dike fulfilled their wishes. After their marriage, Amara went to live with her husband. She was surprised when one day two of her uncles came to visit her with smiles on their faces. When she saw them, she was filled with disgust and anger.
Uncles indeed. What have you come here for? Oh, I know. To enjoy yourselves. But guess what? You will be going back where you came from. You have come to reap where you did not sow. You were never available when I need you. I forgive you for my own good, but I will not tolerate this fake display of affection. So please find your way out.
Amara said, and her uncles left with shame on their faces. The moral of this story: everything happens for a reason. Boy or girl child, all are children, and each deserves love as much as the other. The tradition where uncles treat his brother's wife with hate and contempt because she did not give birth to a male child is absurd and should stop. This story should also be a reminder and encouragement to everyone out there that has difficulty in one thing or the other, that it will not last forever. It will definitely come to an end one day. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, comment and share. See you in our next story. Bye.